you're going to have some buyers that are great, and they're just going to breeze through your process, and it's going to seem like you didn't do much. And that's the beauty of having a great system and a great process that you can run people through, is because most of the time it's going to be more simple than it is complicated.
Yep.
But when it does get complicated, we want to be ready.
Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. I got Matt Benelli with me this morning, and just the two of us. We got a great topic for you. We're going to have some fun today. Before we get started, business planning is on the horizon. I know all of you are wondering, when is business planning going to show up? It's here. It's arrived. We're starting it at Life at 10 Tenths on October 22nd. We're going to be kicking this whole thing off. So we're excited to have you come and join us. We have been told by so many over the years that we have the best business plan they've ever done. And I trust our people, Matt. I trust our people when they tell us stuff like that. I have to listen to them. I have to believe them. And actually, I am fairly fond of our business plan. We've had a lot of years, a lot of working with agents that we have put in what we know works, what feels right, what gets people to where they want to go, where they find motivation. So we're doing this on October 22nd. It will be 4 weeks right in a row, and they build off one another. So it's not like show up for one of the weeks and you'll do business planning. This is dive in for the whole 4 weeks, and you're going to get access into all of our 11 circle, all of our inside of our everything we got going on. You're going to get it all for that time that you're doing business planning with us. So you'll actually have direct access to Matt and myself, and we're excited to help you get where you want to go. Did I miss anything, Matt?
Let's just tell them where to sign up.
Yeah, that's probably a really good idea. So you can go to 10tenths.co, 10tenths.co. That's where you can head to, just our main website. You'll see it. It'll pop up. It'll say, do you want to do business planning? Click on that link and it will take you where you can sign up. So we'd love to have you there. And with that being said, did I miss anything?
I think you got it now. That sounds perfect.
I got it. Well, Matt, let's jump in, man, because
let's do it.
I had an interesting situation here the other day talking with my neighbor about his experience with trying to be a home buyer right now. And I was surprised as I started to talk with him and listening to his experience and listening to how confused this guy was going through the process of being a buyer right now. And I started to connect it into all of the conversations that I've been having with realtors and what they've been saying of like, gosh, buyers are so much work right now. Everybody needs so much of my time and my energy. And I had this moment where it's like, oh my gosh, buyers and sellers need a trusted person in their world right now more than any time I think I've seen as we've gone through helping people buy and sell real estate. And this is really a special moment right now if you lean into it, but it's also a moment right now. The more I was talking with my neighbor, the more I had this part of going, oh my gosh, this could be so damaging to our industry if we don't stand up and help these people find clarity and get to where they want to go, because he's somebody that's having such a bad experience buying and selling real estate right now. I'm like, this is where we get replaced, guys. Like, if we can't figure out how to show up and be at this level, this is where we get replaced. And I understand a lot of you might be working harder than you've ever worked. You might be putting in more time. This is the job. This is what it's all about. Like, this is what it is. So yeah. Matt, let's tear this apart today, because I think this is really, really, really important. I do want to share my neighbor's story so people understand what he's going through. But good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, man. I think it's so important. And it's fascinating that your neighbor had this experience. And when you were telling me about this story, it had me thinking about stats and things like that about, people say, well, more buyers use a realtor than have ever before. And obviously we know there's value in working with a realtor, but there's also this default option that people do use realtors for. And I think there are a lot of buyers out there that take a long time to make decisions and things like that because they don't have a guide. They have a professional paper pusher, so to speak, for lack of a better word. And I'm sorry if this is you, and I hope it's not you. And if it is you, it's also okay, because I think sometimes we naturally get into this kind of rut with our businesses sometimes, where we just want like business to happen. We do want to close deals. We want to serve people, and we just non-consciously miss the opportunities to serve at a level that can really help buyers get across the finish line, Garrett.
So for those of you that are out there going, well, that's not me, I'm not just a paper pusher. Great. So I want you to listen, because there are a lot of professional paper pushers out there right now in the real estate industry. And again, so let me share my neighbor's story.
And Garrett, I also want to highlight this for those of you who are like, well, I'm already crushing it, I'm good. Just be cautious with that, right? Because I think sometimes it's good to look inward, because every now and then I think like, hey man, I'm doing great. Like things are going good and everything. And I need to just kind of take a step back and look like, but this could be better. I'm not responding to this the way that it should be. There's not this over here. So let's hear the story, because I think this will help set the stage.
Well, so my neighbor and I have a great neighborly relationship. I'll say that. Like we are very respectful to each other on each sides of the fence. We're actually building a new fence together right now. Seems to be going quite smoothly. Like we have a great neighbor relationship, but we really don't get into the weeds. We don't like get into like, what are you dealing with right now? But I got this text, and he said, hey, can you meet me out by the fence? I want to talk for like 3 minutes. Well over a half an hour later of us standing by the fence, I find somebody who, here he is, he's probably in his 60s, let's say. Kids are gone. He's just he and his wife, and they're looking at buying what he's looking at is, this will be my last house. And he's got a dream. He loves his house. By the way, this house that he's in right now is like the pinnacle of all homes that he says he's ever lived in. If you let him talk about it, he talks about how everything is just perfect, from every window position to the trees, and the leaves on the trees are just perfect, and how they shade the house just perfectly, all that stuff. Well, he wants to move to Reno. That's where he wants to move to. And he tested it out. He actually rented a house out in Reno for about a year, a little over a year now. He knows he loves it. He knows it's a place he wants to live in. Has a realtor out there taking him out, showing him property. They're finding homes. But at the same time, what my neighbor's done is he finds homes on his own. And I understand this is where confusion can come in, that he's going by the process of selection out there. But he's bringing the home to the table, and he goes, hey, I just need you now just to write an offer on this, get the paperwork done so that I can buy this house. Well, he gets to the 11th hour of being able to back out of the contract, and all of a sudden he has a panic mode. He has a panic that comes up in him where all of a sudden it's like, what if this is the wrong house? What if I'm going to be in this house and I've overpaid for it? What if I need to sell, let's say in a year, and I can't get out of this house? And all of a sudden, he pulls the emergency brake, says, cancel the contract. And his realtor goes, that's what you want to do? And he goes, yep. And he runs in, cancels the contract, boom, deal's dead. This has happened 3 times now. And I asked him, I said, did your real estate agent ever try to learn more about why you were canceling the contract and figure out if there's a way that you can present an offer back across the table that would make this work? He goes, no, that we never had that conversation. Second is, I said, did he ever do a meeting with you up front saying, hey, I know you said you're bringing this home to the table that you want to purchase, but do you mind if we just take a little bit? I'd like to sit down. I want to do a full consultation with you. I want to learn what you're really trying to accomplish. What makes this home be the home? And yes, I'm happy to write an offer on this house. At the same time, let's pull up some other homes, other things that you may not know about in the area that might fit the bill. And then we started talking about the what's and the whys. And I started to ask him questions about, so what is it that you want out of a house? And he started giving me his what's and all the things that were important to him. And I said, has anybody ever asked you why? And he said, no, like why? I don't understand what you're talking about. And I said, so we started a role play on the side yard. And I said, do you all of a sudden see that there's a lot more types of properties, different types of situations that actually will fit what you're trying to accomplish, but you're just narrowed into this one house you brought to your realtor's attention. Like there might be 20 other homes out there that might be even better than this one you just happen to find. He on his own, I did not make him cry, and he wasn't sobbing, but you could tell he was so upset because the last property he canceled on, he said, I was scared. He said it out loud. He goes, I was scared. His eyes were welled up. He said, every bit of me after I did it wanted to call the next day and go, how can we get this contract back? The words that the client on the other end shared with their agent to share to with his agent was, that buyer is a miserable SOB. But you got to think about it. The reason he earned that title from the seller is that he took him all the way through the negotiating process, all the way through to when you're all of a sudden going, hopefully everything's good on this inspection. Actually, the inspection came in really good. There wasn't anything crazy with it. And the guy blows it up with no counter, no inspection addendum, nothing. Yes, he will be looked at as a miserable SOB is what's going to happen because he just took a seller that desperately wants to sell their house. They got a place they want to go to, and that seller has nothing to do but just go back on the market with nothing. This is not my neighbor's fault. And the more I sat there, I had to tell him, this is not your fault. You have not been handled properly. You have not been guided properly. You've not had an expert, a professional in your corner that's making sure that you are taken care of all the way through this entire process. And this is what led to this episode today, because we're seeing this happen out here right now. I'm watching agents that are skipping steps. Ever since the pandemic, everything was moving so fast that everything that happened to the gentleman next door, it's happening because the realtor has never had to slow down. They've never had to take the time. And to make it even worse, Matt, just to tie this all in together of how crazy this is, to end up this entire discussion with my neighbor, he says, so my realtor then got a hold of me after I canceled the third contract and asked if I would send him compensation for all the work that he has done so far, but even though they haven't got a deal closed. And I said, if you send a single dollar across the table, I said, you're rewarding bad behavior, which our industry needs to be better, not rewarded for not showing up. So Matt, there you go, man. I'm gonna throw all that your direction because it was really insightful into kind of what's going on and what our competition is out there.
The kicker for me was the asking for compensation because
I almost
of all this time. And I could see and like imagine the realtor forums online, of someone going and making a post like, oh man, my client canceled for the third time. This is crazy. I'm wasting my time. How do I get paid for this stuff? And I could see, other agents supporting him like, yeah, go get paid and all this stuff. And that's crazy. And that's nuts. You should get paid hourly or whatever. And all this kind of, and I'm like, there is such a strong disconnection between those two parties that like no side is going to be able to be, right in this situation. And it does come down to, you're right, of the realtor having a professional process to the point where if the client still decides to do those things, then we know, right? We've gone through the whole things. There's been clarity and it's like, all right, cool. Maybe this person isn't ready to buy a house then at that point.
Well, and when the buyer then is at that point that they're going like, I want out, like they're not doing it in a state of fight or flight. They're doing it in a state of absolute clarity. I have seen the light and I've been asked all the right questions and I know that I'm making the right decision here. And the problem is he doesn't know he's making the right decision and he's absolutely frightened and he's scared and he's regretting now that he did it. And Matt, to top it off, this whole thing of compensation, the words that he said to me were, I feel like I should pay him because I don't want to be badmouthed in the realtor community in Reno and then have realtors that don't want to work with me. I said, one, realtors don't talk that much. Nobody's going to know who you are. Like that's just not happening. And second is this person that obviously was handling you isn't showing up like a professional. So anybody who's hanging out with them probably isn't a professional either. So you're okay. Like, just move forward, man. But he was so concerned that now he's damaged his ability. And again, it was just because he just hasn't been taken care of.
Yeah. We forget how massive purchasing a piece of real estate is. And I think part of it is because we're so focused as an industry to grow up and graduate to doing more listings, which I totally get from a business perspective. Makes sense. More predictable, less time, more manageable, all the good reasons, right? And then we give the new agents the buyers, right? We have the buyer's agents. You know, buyers is usually more of a new agent thing. When you think about it, like, they need that personal guidance and conversation much more potentially than a seller. A seller needs a pro who has a plan, who has a strategy, who understands everything. Don't get me wrong. And I don't think there's necessarily means that a new agent can or cannot do one or the other. However, the mindset of the industry towards buyers isn't very, very high. And that's a shame, because in these situations, there is so much emotion on that purchase side because they don't want to make a bad decision. Sellers don't have that pressure as much because they get rewarded with money at the end of the day. They are released from a liability at the end of the day, where buyers are taking on a liability. Yes, a liability. Okay, they're getting an asset, but they're also taking on maintenance, long-term appreciation, a loan. They're taking on a lot when they say this is going to be the one, and every single piece of real estate is different. So it's hard for them to compare, to understand, am I making the right choice? And this is where conversation is so important. And buyer's agents, and you're right, Garrett, since COVID particularly, are so focused on how do we get this buyer to a transaction so we can close it out. And a lot of agents are doing that with good intentions too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying
they feel time is of the essence for these clients. So like, I got to make this move quick for them. I got to make it move fast.
Yeah, they're like, oh man, I see it. Like, I know that they want, like, maybe this agent's like, I can see that he wants this house and I really want to do it. But then the moment there's friction, you fold like a cheap lawn chair. It's like, we can't do that. That's where we need to say, hey, we're going to have a tough conversation right now. Like, but we need to go through it. And you can preface it by saying, hey, whatever you decide is totally fine. There's no pressure either way, but we need to go through some questions to fully understand what you want to accomplish, because the weight of a deal and finances sometimes way overshadow the reason why they wanted to buy the house in the first place.
Yeah. And again, I think that, like, in all defense of real estate agents and everything, I hear, like, my neighbor's a driver. He's a total driver. The guy's a business owner. He knows what he wants. He knows what he's doing. And very easily, if given a weak realtor, somebody who's not willing to say, oh, no, I have a process of how we're going to do this, he will take charge of it. I kept going, like, I have a realtor for you. Like, please, do you want me to refer you a realtor? And he was like, no, I've got somebody else I'm going to work with now. I'm like, everybody was going like, dude, you need someone who's going to come in and call the shots, not someone who's just going to be, because if he gets another paper pusher, he's going to run him over. And it's not that he's mean, bad, or evil. He's just a driver. He's going to take control of the situation, especially if somebody's not showing up. He's going to be like, I got this, just get out of the way. And then all of a sudden you end up with that relationship, and you got to be very, very, very careful of that. But people need guidance right now more than any time ever, Matt. We had Matthew Ferrara on, and we were talking about the marketplaces with realtors. And there's realtors that are swimmers, and there's realtors that are surfers. And the interesting thing is, the more and more I've played with this analogy, I've looked at it from 10 different angles because my brain works in analogies. I actually think marketplaces where there are no waves are really difficult for sellers and buyers, because there's not something that's making them go, we got to move now. The pandemic was a huge tsunami. It was a massive wave of things happening, things we've never seen before. And it caused this wave of sellers and buyers to go, I want to go now. I want to go right now. Let's do this. That was an interesting wave that we saw come through. Interest rate changes can be a wave that all of a sudden makes buyers and sellers go, we got to move quick. This market right now, Matt, it's fascinating. I've been looking at the FHFA, looking at all the numbers and the trend lines and all this stuff. We've had an interesting change for appreciation in homes right now that is changing. A lot of the market's going a different direction right now. It's starting to change, or it's very flat. Most markets are very flat right now. Use that flat as there's no waves. There's nothing really causing anybody to have to move, which means you really have to learn the person. You really have to learn where they're going, what they're trying to accomplish, what's important. You got to bring that up, because without that, you have no power, you have no leverage, you have no momentum, you have no forward movement. You just have this kind of like, should we wait till spring? Should we do this? Should we? I don't know. Is this the right time? Maybe we'll miss another home that's going to come on tomorrow, and we're like, we kind of moved too fast on this house. There's no movement. And again, it's not a bad thing. It just means you got to show up for your people. Like, you have to take the time with them, because you're the one who's going to create the momentum and the energy to make them go, you know what? This is important to me right now. I do want to solve for this. This does make my life better. This does fix my world. Let's do it. Let's go. But without that, you got freak out, panic, scattered people, and it's happening right now. My neighbor's not the only one. I'm just going to let everyone know. My neighbor is not the only one.
And I'm interested to see what the market is doing at the time of release, because we're a couple weeks ahead, and the 10-year Treasury just had a nice little dip due to a few reasons, which could lead to mortgage rate drops and things like that. And there are a lot of people talking around at this time, which we're in the first week of September right now, about, I'm hearing some grumblings that there could be more buyers entering the market. And this is all, niche market specific as well. And this is where we've encouraged people to talk to your lenders. The point, though, is no matter the market, having a great buyer process where you are acting as a guide and having these conversations. And I know that a lot of agents are, as you said, complaining like, oh, buyers are so much work right now. Well, I think a big part of them being a lot of work is because we haven't set it up properly. And I can see the agents who are able to handle a good amount of buyers at the same time are going to thrive, through this marketplace. And this doesn't mean you have to figure out, okay, how do I have conversations with all my buyers every single day? Because if you have a really good process, just like when you work with sellers, like agents have great seller processes because there's all the moving parts of getting vendors hired and getting things on the market and selecting photos and writing copy and all this kind of stuff. And so you're kind of forced into having a process. Whereas with buyers, there isn't as much to prepare. So we think, we'll just kind of get into it. But there is a lot that you can prepare. It just happens to be a lot of mental and emotional management that we want to prepare for. And that's where having this great consultation up front, Garrett, where you've talked about like getting a better understanding of the whys behind the whats, right? And then having checkpoints and running your customer service calls week over week so that we can check in on those things, because those things change. It's not that buyers are liars. It's that they learn more as they view more property, and some of those desires and some of the whys or some of the whats that connect to a why can change during the process. And if you know that that is possible, I think you don't call your buyers as crazy as much. If you're expecting it as the agent, then it's easier to manage. But if you don't expect it, then all of a sudden, my buyers are crazy and I'm working my butt off right now.
Well, so the more I was talking with my neighbor, it was really interesting because he kept saying, this is our last house. This is why it's so important. This is our last house we're going to buy. And I said, you do realize it's probably not your last house just because you're saying it out loud. I'm like, that's the way it works. I'm like, you probably have 2 more homes in there somewhere. It's just letting you know. But again, because he was also saying, what if I had to sell it in 2 years? What if for health reasons or whatnot, we need to make a change.
Yeah, but it's the last house. Who cares how much it costs? It's the last house.
Last house.
Buy it.
But he is very, very, very tight with his money. He's done extremely well, as I was saying. And I watched how he makes decisions with money. And he doesn't just throw money around. He's very, very, very business minded. Every dollar is going to be used appropriately. So it's really interesting as we started talking, and I said, so obviously saying this is your last house, I said, not to be morbid here, but let's say then the next place after this would be assisted living, right? That would be kind of like, if this is your last home, that would probably be the next space. He said, yeah. The more he started to describe the house that he put his offer on that he's so excited about, there are 2 entire flights of stairs just to get to the garage. And the more I'm thinking about this, and unfortunately, that is a thing that kind of goes with a lot of homes in the Reno area. It's a mountain area. There's snow. There's all kinds of stuff, and how they're built on the sides, especially the area he likes. It's kind of a going up Mountain Rose Highway, if I remember correctly, is where he's at. It's a beautiful area. It's an amazing area. But these homes, like, you've got all these elements to it. And the more I started talking to him, I'm like, why are you looking at a home that's your last house before going into assisted living with 2 flights? Like, don't you want to get a house that's going to last you as long as you possibly can before you have to make that step? And you could see kind of the wheels start turning, and I'm like, nobody's asked him. Like, nobody has sat down with him and guided him through this. And there are certain marketplaces that I think, yeah, it's really easy to get paid as a realtor. We can do deals all over the place. Just snap your fingers, you got another deal coming in. And it's what causes a lot of realtors to go, I'm going to get my real estate license. Like, this looks like an easy job. And they come flying in, and then the job changes. And it turns into kind of the place that we're in right now. And it's not necessarily easy to get paid. And it does require a lot of work, and it requires a lot of patience. But this is the type of marketplace that, if from what he just experienced to now stepping in and having a true professional take the reins and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do this. This is how I'm going to make sure you and your wife are comfortable through this whole thing. This is where raving fans are created, by the way. This is where you create a business of a database full of people that are going, you've never used a realtor like Matt Benelli. Matt Benelli is different than anybody I've ever used before. He's helped us with a lot. I mean, I dealt with some really crappy agents. I mean, I can say it out loud because it was bad. We had some really bad experiences, and Matt was absolutely the top of the top. Don't talk to anybody else. Let me get you in touch with Matt Benelli. These are the marketplaces. Like, this is the crazy opportunity that's in front of all of you right now if you choose to show up. This is the opportunity. You can build the database that will carry the rest of your business for as long as you want to be doing this business for, because they trust you and you show up for them. But you can't be a paper pusher and build that. You will build more enemies than you will build friends through this marketplace if you don't show up in that way.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll add this too, Garrett, that you're going to have some buyers that are great, and they're just going to breeze through your process, and it's going to seem like you didn't do much. And that's the beauty of having a great system and a great process that you can run people through, is because most of the time it's going to be more simple than it is complicated.
Yep.
But when it does get complicated, we want to be ready. And I know that there's agents out there where when they start to like really focus on these, challenging buyers, and I'm like, well, let's look at the percentages. And maybe it's 15 to 20% of their business are these tough buyers, but they make it sound like it's every single person, and they overwhelm themselves, and it slows down everybody else. And that's part of the problem here, is if you get so stuck in not having a process with people and pulled back into these things without knowing where you're going with them because you haven't asked the questions, the rest of your business is going to suffer, right? Yep. So this isn't like you're, preparing to take on this battle of buyers that are confused all the time and all this kind of stuff. It's having a process that works for everybody so that you can have clarity for all. And you're right, it does build raving fans in this marketplace. And the more efficient you are with your buyers, the ones that are really good, it's going to feel like you didn't do anything. And it's going to have you question, like, gosh, why am I even here? And that's awesome. Like, slow is fast, just like in racing, right? It's like, man, that guy looks like he's going slow around the track. Yeah, slow is fast. Usually is. So if you feel like you're running around and slow in real estate means no late night text, no late night phone calls, preparing offers well ahead of a deadline, having clarity among your buyers. They're not calling you and rescinding things at the last minute because they're scared. Expectations are set. So it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not like running to the showing tomorrow because this buyer decided they all of a sudden wanted to see this property. Whereas some agents will be like, well, when that's happening, I know I'm busy. It's like, or we're just not as organized. And yeah, you could be busy too, which is great. But don't we want to have organization and process so that we can manage all that? Slow is fast with buyers.
For a tactical side of this, real quick, Matt, because there's lots of sales systems out there. And there's all different types of trainings you can go to, and they'll be like, here's your process for working with buyers, here's your process for working with sellers. And I want to simplify it down really quick, just so you can kind of get a sense of what almost every process is built off of. It's who, when, what, where, how, and why. And if you just take the time up front to sit down with your clients in the very beginning when you first start working with them and just say, okay, in my first meeting with them, my time spent with them, this is what I'm actually trying to figure out. Who's involved in this transaction? Who are the decision makers? Who are the ones going to be experiencing and benefiting from this property? Then we go to when. When does this need to happen? Do they have time frames that they want? Just go down through it step by step by step, pulling in this information. At the end of that meeting, you should have a really clear list that you can almost repeat back to them to say, based on our time here together, this is everything I've learned about what you guys are trying to accomplish, where you're trying to go right now. I have a clear understanding of what you are trying to do. And then you can do, which is one of my favorite processes, and this is pretty much with buyers is where you want to focus on this, is the what's and the whys. And that's where you can get into like the bedrooms and the bathrooms and all that stuff. Like, what is it that you want? Tell me, and you build it all out. And then just like with my neighbor, you then ask the question, why is that important to you? If you can do your first meetings with your people and just say, I understand you got homes you want to go see. I understand you've got stuff. You already know what the house is. I get it. Great. Let's go have a cup of coffee. And you go through that. Who, when, what, where, how, and why, and then do the what's and the whys with them. You will have a completely different relationship with your buyer, with your seller also, by the way. This works hand in hand with them too, the who, when, what, where, how, and why. But every good sales system that I found out there, it is designed to help you answer those questions. And so you can simplify it down and just say, hey, you know what? That's my goal. Got to get those answers. So that's my tactical side, Matt.
I love it because with that information, now you have the foundation of asking the questions when the game is on the line, so to speak. When your buyer calls you and says, I think I want to pull out of this deal, and you say, hey, let's just go revisit this. You said that the reason why this house is because of X, Y, and Z. This was your why. This house seems to fit. What has changed in that to make you think that this isn't the right property?
Well,
right?
And here's what's cool about that moment, Matt. When you know all this information, now you're not salesy. You're not this guy that's coming in or this lady that's coming in going like, how do I save this deal? I got to get these guys to the closing table. You are now coming in and you're sitting down with them and saying, okay, I want to go back to everything you shared with me, because before you pull this ripcord, before you make a fight or flight decision here real fast, what I want you to do is let's just talk this out. We've got time. There's no rush on this. We have till tomorrow to make a decision on this. I hear you're scared though, but let's go through this. And you start walking through. This property was initially for you and your wife. You wanted to live in Reno. We're sitting here in Reno right now. This is amazing. Perfect. Go right through all the steps of it. You're going to find a person at the end that's going to go, yes, I still want to cancel this. I still want to get out. Or they're going to be sitting there going, you know what? You're right. You know what? This does fit all these needs. This does take care of what I'm scared about is this. What I'm afraid of is this. And you got to bring that stuff to the table. But if you don't know the stuff up front, now you're salesy. Now you're just trying to close a transaction. All you're working on is how to get them to say yes, how to get them to, what are the 4 questions I can ask to get them to be able to, move forward. Now it's just little sales techniques you got in your back pocket is all you have rather than truly being a guide to them. And that, unfortunately, that's not really what people want. They don't want to be sold. Nobody likes being sold.
No, and your position is you are their fiduciary. You are there to guide them. Let the listing agent come back to you with the sales tactics and all that kind of stuff, because that's their job. Their job is to keep the deal alive, right? You want to keep it alive too, I'm sure, but your job is to guide your buyer. And I say this to a lot of agents, like, man, I lost a deal this weekend. I'm like, okay, do you still have the client? They're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, well, you didn't lose anything. You didn't lose anything. You didn't lose anything. You still have the client. You still have the listing. You're good. You keep moving. You got this. Gosh, man.
Isn't it funny if somebody says I lost a deal, they initially take it off the bottom line that they've automatically already calculated for the end of the year numbers that they're going to have. They're like, oh, I totally thought I was going to have that sale. You still have the sale. The client's still with you. You still have the listing. Like, you're still moving forward. Now, if the client, like, you blow them out to the point that, you know, now you're like, hey, do you think you could just send some money my way? I have a picture of his realtor with a cardboard sign sitting on the side saying I have any spare change. It's kind of like, I'm not making this real estate world thing work. I've put in a lot of time and effort. Will anybody just share some money with me just to make it feel like I have a job? Like, it's just not how the industry works. And that's what I kept telling him. I said, that is not how that job works. That job works, and it's set up that way because you get paid for the job that you do to getting your clients to the final place that they need to go to. You do not get compensated along the way. And it's actually what makes, I think, should make really good realtors want to figure out how to be there and how to help guide them. Because the more deals you have fall through because you're not doing your job, you might need to go get a different job or decide to take this one seriously. And it is a real job. Real estate, I know some people will say, oh, I got to go get a real job, or like, you know, oh, you're a realtor. You are helping somebody through one of the most stressful things that they're going to do in their life, moving more money than they're going to move with anything else that they're going to do in their life. And yeah, I think you should take this extremely seriously because they need you. They need your help. They need your guidance. The opportunities in your hands right now. And I think we beat that one up to death, Matt. I think that's where we're at.
Needed it.
We needed it. We needed it.
Yeah. And so I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. I know you did. And for those of you who are at the top of your game with buyers, hopefully you got a little bit extra to be like, let me double tap on this, because if other realtors out there are just trying to wait for a transaction to come along, that means the opportunity for market share growth for your business is massive, particularly if little waves start to come in favor of buyers, which maybe they do, maybe they won't, but you have a process that'll work so that you can always be swimming, even when you can also surf as well. So I don't know if that works, but anyway, Garrett, thanks for bringing this one to the table, and to Garrett's neighbor. Appreciate you sharing this story with Garrett so that we could kind of bring that up, because whenever I hear a story of one buyer out in the marketplace, I'm like, there's more. There's more stories out there that aren't getting shared that are just like this one, and they exist all over the place. So, and if you guys want to build a plan for next year, and also a sustainable plan, I will say, Garrett, you mentioned business planning at the beginning of this. And one thing I love about the way we've been doing our planning is it's not about just this, hallmark of, hey, we're turning the calendar and let's do a plan. We help you guys craft something that builds a vision that is sustainable. So you can do this plan at any time, which is great. And maybe you have a good plan and a good vision that just needs some tweaks and things like that. We have the process for you so that you can create the vision for your life that your business supports, instead of building a business plan that your life supports, because that's like the worst. And that's what I see most people do. So we're going to help you craft a vision for your life that your business will support, and it'll be amazing. We'd love you to join us on that journey, Garrett.
And I want to add with this that Matt and I are going to go through this live with you. I know a lot of you listening went and came and did our 21-day accelerator here a while back. I know that was fast-paced every single day, new activity. You had to be working on something you had to be doing. There's a reason we spread this out over 4 weeks. There's a reason that you get 7 days in between each one of our sessions. And there's a reason that Matt and I are going to be there with you live along the way. Doing live Q&A with you, helping you understand exactly what this business plan, this section of it needs to be, and why we're approaching it this way. That's how we approach business planning. That's how I've done it for years. And it is one of my most favorite times. I used to never like business planning. Business planning was just but if you've got the right vision and the right focus and you get walked through it in the right way, it's amazing what you can create. And it's not designed to be a one-time, this is my business plan and I'm never going to look at it to the end of the year. The business plan that we help you build is actually designed to help you break things down. So you're looking at it in a quarterly format. You're getting a much deeper plan so you know where you're going, what you're trying to build, and how you're going to get there. So we're excited. I'm excited, Matt.
It's going to be great. So go to 10tenths.co and click the pop-up there to join us for that. And again, you get access to our entire group coaching program, the 11 Circle, while we're doing business planning. So you're going to get to see all the insides. And so if you have extra time and you want to go back and see some of the amazing workshops or live coaching sessions that we've had, you'll be able to go do that too. So you get a ton of value with this. It's going to be incredible. And we hope to see you guys there. Just go to 10tenths.co. And otherwise, guys, thanks so much for tuning into the podcast. We so appreciate you guys and look forward to the next one and the next one and the next one. And if you did get great value out of it and you know someone who might get some good value out of this, please share it, because that's one of the best ways that you can help us grow, and we appreciate it a ton. So have a great one, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.